Installment of appreciating Ananda through its music. I'm Nayaswami Lahiri. This is Nayaswami Biraj. If any of you are tuning in for the first time, we're on loan here in Mumbai for 6 months. We're 5 some months into it, then we'll go back to Palo Alto and come back here. It's lovely being here, and a part of our big assignment here with Narani and Shurjo was a request to help people know, Swami Kriyananda was a fount of creativity in many ways, and one of his most beloved ways was to compose music. So he composed 400 and some pieces of music, some instrumental, many with words, different moods, different references, some of them deeply spiritual and soulful, and others a little more playful. He did music for children, which I like to say children of all ages, because I love all of those songs. They're very innocent and light and full of truth, but in a very gentle, loving way. So tonight, we do a sprinkling of songs every week. Tonight our focus is again on the essence of Ananda through its music. So there are many themes of Ananda, and these are often the songs that any concert would start with, or any public talk that Swami Kriyananda gave or other acharyas around the world give. If they have music first, you want a kind of song that welcomes everybody, and it's light and it's lively and it doesn't get too serious about the teachings, but it's just a happy sort of feeling and mood in the room. So these are sort of themes of Ananda is what we're calling these songs. So that's what we'll start with. And then we'll go on from there. There are songs every devotee knows. The greatest good that can happen is to find a true guru. And the big enemy of the spiritual life is the big delusions, all of those delusions that try and pull us away from our highest. And so the second part is going to be overcoming delusion, and then we'll cue you in for the rest. But first we start with, there's joy in the heavens.
There's joy in the heavens, a smile on the mountains, and melody sings everywhere. I should tell you where to find this. You can find it on page 16 in your book, those of you that are here in the room. That'll help you. There's joy in the heavens.
And by all means, sing along to any parts that you know or want to try out.
There's joy in the heavens, a smile on the mountains, and melody sings everywhere. The flowers are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air. The flowers are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air. Leave home in the sunshine, dance through a meadow, or sit by a stream and just be. The lilt of the water will gather your worries and carry them down to the sea. The lilt of the water will gather your worries and carry them down to the sea. Men hunger for freedom, but don't see their dungeon is only the thought that they're bound. Desires are their shackles, the hope that tomorrow the doorway to joy will be found. Desires are their shackles, the hope that tomorrow the doorway to joy will be found. There's joy all around us, why wait till tomorrow? We've only this moment to live. A heaven within us is ours for the finding, a freedom no riches can give. Flags are all that. The heaven within us is ours for the finding, a freedom no riches can give. Actually, this song was not only important in Ananda's repertoire, but it happens to be the very first song that I ever played a guitar on. And I was actually, there's a line in here, sit by the stream and just be. That's where I was when I learned this song for the first time on the guitar. That was 40 years ago, or even more, 42 years ago. So dear to my heart.
And another dear to one's heart image of this song, when we first came to India and we were introduced to the whole grand tour of everything that was going on here. And there was the grand tour of the rickshaw ride to the jetty, to the ferry across the way. And that particular body of water has a number of interesting things thrown into it, we'll just say. And so Narayani and I were sort of laughing, you know, it's sort of God's play, and isn't it funny that in this world, you know, this is happening? And so we looked over and we said, yeah, you know, the lilt of the water will carry your worries down to the sea. Let's sit by the stream and just be. You know, it's life is everywhere.
It carries your worries and a whole lot of other things down that stream.
And so what? It's just a play. It's just God's dream. And so some of it's beautiful beyond words. Some of it's really horrible beyond words. It's just all God's dream. And so having humor at the times when it's not your favorite part of the dream can help a lot.
What do you want to tell them about this next one?
Oh, this one. Swamiji started writing music, and he'd grown up in the tradition of folk songs. You know, there was Bob Dylan and Peter, Paul, and Mary, and many people. And often what they would do, their folk songs would be sort of tinted with blues. You know, they'd be singing about something that was really sad.
The blues is a particularly unique American contribution to musical genres. Tends to be from the South and often from the African American culture, that these very sad songs of how life can really take you down and bum you out. And that's kind of where it came from.
And you lose things are serious, and people don't treat you well, and just all the negative things that come in life. You know, maybe better to sing about it than do other things about it. But for Swami's, music was an opportunity to uplift people to higher levels of consciousness. He said we have a new kind of music. So blues were about the opposite place of where he was going with his music, but somebody really wanted him to write a blues song.
It was his guitar coach, the man who taught him guitar.
Yeah. He said, come on, you know, man, you got to have at least one blues song. So sort of in jest, sort of humorously, but Swami wrote this song called The Non-Blues.
Oh, no. You've got to grab this other piece of paper that has the words of the ones that won't be in the booklet. So be sure everyone has one of those tonight. And we're trying to get these online. For those of you that are online, we'll see how that works out. What am I doing hanging out in this cellar? No, don't do that. It's like this. I'm composing a blues. No, it ain't the blues, 'cause it's only one, and one's about all I can do. Well, I'm hanging my head like I oughta. How's this? Do I got the hang of it? My chair is a case of gin, and my mouth I have drooped like a Saint Bernard till its corners are touching my chin. You may ask why you feeling so blue. Well, I ain't. I just thought I should try, 'cause some fella said all those songs of yours ain't for real. They don't make no one cry. Ah, that's realism. Yeah, I love that gutter. Yet I wonder if we ain't been misled. How much reality can a man see anyway when he spends his all day hanging his head? Now it ain't that I don't know what grief is. This old heart has had its full share. But grief's one thing and complaining another. Why multiply grief with despair? For I find that this whole world around me, like a mirror upon the wall, smiles back when I smile, looks blue when I'm blue, and that blue shade I don't like at all. So I'm going back to my bad old haunts. My time here is almost done. The fact is, fella, I can't stand this cellar. I just gotta get out in the sun.
You know, such a silly song. And drama is part of our life at Ananda. Growing up at Ananda, when we would sing that song, rarely, because it's not, after all, essential teachings necessarily in the way we would normally do them, but
it's an anti-teaching.
Yeah, people would really get into it. So they'd do it for a special event. So they'd get on the dark shades, they'd get on the caps, they'd be like blues guys. They'd do a little hand movement and a little swinging back and forth. They'd really get into it, in other words, and everybody would just be laughing. So one of the popular categories for Biraj and I anyway to think about with Swami's music is spiritual warrior. You know, we learn we have to be a spiritual warrior. It's a path of joy, it's a path of light, it's the 8 manifestations of God. All of those are encouraged and visible in devotees that have been around, and Kriya brings all those things. So it's a wonderful path of great uplifted joy. And yet, it's also a path, Yogananda used to say it in one funny way in a talk. He said, you know, the spiritual path, it's not for weaklings. You have to be strong, you have to be courageous, you have to be tough. And he says the word tough in such a way like, it's so tender, you know, it's so it's both. It's the tenderness to receive God and give God when you can in that way of loving, nurturing kindness. But as the masters say, it takes a great will, and sometimes you have to stand up for Dharma, and that's where the warrior spirit has to come in. You have to be willing to sacrifice what you might want, what you might like to see, what you might have. You have to be willing to sacrifice, and that takes a certain, you know, the kshatriya, probably not pronouncing it perfectly, but that part of life, caste, if you will, but phase of life that every soul must go through, is there are many benefits to going through that, because you start thinking about others. Their life becomes more important than your own. If you're a soldier and you're in charge of many other people, you put yourself out in the line of fire to support your troops, to protect your homeland, to protect your wife. You're willing to give up your very life for something higher, for the values of your, you know, you look at our brothers and sisters in Ukraine, you know, there's a lot of nobility and a lot of spiritual progress being made with those great souls who are saying, we need to be free and determine ourselves. They believe in it so deeply. Others have come and tried to bully them away. And they're saying, no, we won't let this bullying continue. We will fight. We will fight. And that's the spirit on every level, even unto Arjuna before Krishna, where he has to come to the point where he says, I will fight. I will engage. I will not listen to my familiar comfort little ego zone. I will give up things for the greater, the greater spiritual awakening, the greater spiritual consciousness, the world as it needs it. So it's an important phase to pass through and to be willing to engage in. Only after a person has reached a point where they can put others' needs, think of others first, that you can begin to move into the next higher stages of, next higher stages, Brahman, right? Mm-hmm. So you start to realize God's will is more important than your own. You're willing to sacrifice for God's will. You're willing to listen to that, just as you've been trained as a kshatriya to listen to the generals and the people who have the plan of success. So it's an important phase, and so we, embrace it. We've had a couple songs over the last few weeks. Every week we have one song, and this week it's going to be The Hill That Was Tara. And this is about history and a big battle that happened, and Swamiji tuning in on a pilgrimage to that place and what he felt of that battlefield.
And listen closely to what kind of growth these values that Lahiri was just talking about brings to those involved. Tara's brave hill so quiet, the day I came there, not a green leaf stood in the air, not a bird did proclaim ancient grandeur and fame, only runes, faint memories declare. All the words are on your big piece of paper. The hill that was Tara. I marvel to think, how can greatness e'er die? How can song disperse in the sky? How can hopes and dreams fade? How the warrior's sharp blade become dust? Was victory a lie? I stood there and pondered the great deeds of men's past, how like clouds in the sunset no glory can last. Even we, as we labor to achieve some bright end, must accept after glory that the night will descend. I've dreamed a broad rainbow over thicket and thorn, over crags that called, tarry, your hopes are forlorn. All too oft in my dreaming, courage turned to despair, till I learned that success is but the courage to dare. As I gazed and thought sadly of Tara's demise, suddenly I saw the walls rise, saw her long regal halls, heard her people's brave calls, as though time had doffed a disguise. And I know in that moment the deeds that men do never die. Each victory is true. Every effort we spend gives more strength in the end, till our gladness in life's ever new. Every effort we spend gives more strength in the end, till our gladness in life's ever new.
It's in meeting the small tests, the small battles that we, with courage, that we gain the strength to become liberated, where gladness in life's ever new. This is a song that for years Swami we had several rounds of trying to launch something called the Super Conscious Living Attunement Ceremony. And it had rises and falls. It never really became part of what everybody wanted to do regularly. But I, for one, always enjoyed all the parts of it. It were several parts. One was chanting Om at each chakra for a long time, and I found that very inspiring. We prayed for others. It was a community. We had our Sunday services where everybody in the community would come together, but we also would have this in the middle of the week, so people could have another reason to come together. And we would sing this particular song, I think at every one.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And we would stand in a circle, and there was this feeling of all of us together doing this thing with this very, very sweet song, which was true. And so we're going to sing it tonight. It's Joined in Prayer.
So it's also on your extra piece of paper there. Joined in prayer. Joined in prayer, we worship thee, rays of light that seek the sun. Many drops to make us see, thus our love when joined as one. Thus our love when joined as one. Joined in prayer, we worship thee, rays of light that seek the sun. Many drops to make us see, thus our love when joined as one. Thus our love when joined as one. One more time. Joined in prayer, we worship thee, rays of light that seek the sun. Many drops do make us see, thus our love when joined as one. Thus our love when joined as one. Thus our love when joined as one.
Swamiji traveled quite a bit in his life, and one of the places he spent some time in was Mexico. This was right after he got out of college. He was trying to figure out what to do. He had a little awakening that let him know, maybe I'm supposed to seek God, so I better become a monk. How do I become a monk? He had no path, no way forward, no groups, no teachers. Well, if I'm going to become a monk, I have to learn how to live on less money. It's very practical. So he thought, I'll go to Mexico. There, the little savings I had will last a long time, and I'll be able to meditate and think about God and dedicate myself to God. And so that was an early experiment. Doors opened. He found a free ride all the way to Mexico. While he was there, he experienced a little bit of that culture, as well as getting very sick and getting cured very quickly because he didn't have money to stay in the hospital, which was an interesting story. Young travelers with the grace of God blessing them. So this particular song he brought into our community based on that spirit of, the Latin culture, the joy of festivities, the quiet, slower, happy-go-lucky, pace, the heat, the slow movement, Mexico. And so, as a tourist, I'll add, life everywhere is about the same once you really get into it and get your job and all the things you have to do are, pretty much the same. But when you're a tourist, you notice the difference in culture. So he was in a different culture, so he brought this back. And so this is another one we do as a large group with the choir, others, and we do hand movements with it, and we get everybody involved, and it's quite fun. So This is under the community expansion. No, this is under the youthful playfulness category.
And it's also on your extra sheet.
Mañana
friends. And it's
mañana friends, tomorrow is the word for, Spanish word for mañana. Tomorrow.
we can do it tomorrow.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Mañana, friends, the world will still be there. A world of suffering, a world of care. Today we'll dance and tell the universe there's love and song for everyone. Fling roses light the fleeting wind, send melodies upon the air. Tell everyone that joy is theirs alone, who smile at life and call it fair. Fling roses on the laughing wind, send melodies upon the air. Tell everyone that joy is theirs alone, who smile at life and call it fair. Mañana, friends, the world will still be there. A world of suffering, a world of care. Today we'll dance and tell the universe there's love and song for everyone. Fling joy like roses on the laughing wind, send melodies upon the air. Tell everyone that joy is theirs alone, who smile at life and call it fair. Fling joy like roses on the laughing wind, send melodies upon the air. Tell everyone that joy is theirs alone, who smile at life and call it fair. Joy like roses on the laughing wind, send melodies upon the air. Tell everyone that joy is theirs alone, who smiled at life and call it fair. Tell everyone that joy is theirs alone, who smiled at life and call it fair. Another silly song.
Even in such a light and playful, just fun song, some very important lines in there, especially the last one. Joy, joy is theirs who smile at life and call it fair. You know, in the Gita, it talks about if you want to receive God, Krishna says, I'll give myself to those who are free of the carping spirit. So this song is like, you think it's not fair, you block the suffering. If you just, it's all fair, it's their karma, it's our karma, it's all, Divine Mother knows what she's doing, and she's doing whatever's needed. So it's fair, it's just, it's true. So complaining about it, that really mostly becomes our and the problem of those around us. But not to say, I don't know anybody who doesn't find Ananda. You're willing. Then there are these times when you quality unwillingness. You need to just, and sometimes you need to have quality complaining. You just need to vent and say, this isn't, I can't, this is hard, I don't like this. We need to get stuff out sometimes, but really, when we're doing that, we have to, it's acceptance, it has its purpose. But when we're really wanting to receive God fully into the depths of our heart, mind, and soul, worshiping God, thanking Him for everything, will open this more than saying, yeah, but, what if you change that? Why did you do that? Just loving God unconditionally really helps that go away. Give it in God's hands, Swami used to say. The world has a lot of problems, a lot of upset, It's everywhere we look, in our lives, everywhere. Give it to God, because the answers. If it's our own circle and we don't like it and we're spinning, give it to the super consciousness. Find a super conscious solution. And if you can't, then give it to God. So you don't have to carry it and feel the lack of fairness in the world. From choir will know you can lead it strongly. This is about turning within. This one is home build.
Home the green hill, home is a wind blowing betrayal far, far away. Home is knowledge, heaven is near. 17, and it'll be there for you. Home is a green hill, is a wind blowing betrayal far, far away. Home is the knowledge, heaven is near. Home's the end of
all around us. He tucks these little lines in. This is under the category of devotional yearning, and it's a very beautiful song. It's about John the Baptist.
No, John the Apostle.
John the Apostle, who, after Christ
Matthew,
died,
Mark, Luke, and John.
right after Christ died,
Mm-hmm.
he was doing his ministry, so he was traveling around sharing the joy, the love, the teachings, everything that his guru had given him.
Oh, you know, I'm wrong. I apologize. This is John the Baptist.
John the Baptist.
My bad.
Okay. So John the Baptist was a forerunner of Christ in the Bible. He comes onto the scene as a very young child. He becomes a renunciate and goes off into the woods. And he has this wild sort of the kind of, in India, you know, those wild sadhus who have disheveled hair and their eyes are wild and they almost look like wild animals coming out, you know, from just being so intense to find God and being all by themselves and living on berries and whatever they find out in the wilderness, taking on a little of that quality of the wilderness. And John lived that life until right before Christ came on the scene. He came out of his seclusion with all this spiritual power from his tapasya and his practices and started baptizing people in Christ's name, you know, with the Spirit. And Christ came to him to be baptized because in a previous life, John had been his teacher. So this is John living in the desert and having an inner experience of God. And Swamiji writes this song. It's part of the oratorio which Swamiji wrote about the life of the Christ consciousness as it was embodied in Jesus, the Christ, his life and disciples. So this is John having an experience that we can all have and are invited to have.
Renouncing all, left his home, wrapped in solitude, far from men's ways, roaming across desert sands, seeking God's truth. Long years he spoke only with God, till silent of soul, wisdom did fill the ache of his heart. Then he did see God alone.
This song is a part of a musical, what would you call it, sweetheart? It has many movements.
It was a concerto.
Concerto that Swami wrote, inspired by his mother, not necessarily to his mother, but he and his mother shared an understanding, an intuitive connection about loving God, even though Swami, as a young boy, didn't know what to do with that, but he felt, you know, when Swami was in his mother's womb, his mother said, I prayed. She was a very spiritual person, not so churchy, but had prayed as a regular practice and felt God's presence. She said, I prayed to God, please God, this first child I give to you. And so he wrote, was it his mother's passing that occasioned this, or did he ever get to birthday? A mother's.
He wrote it in honor of his mother's birthday.
So he wrote a concerto with several parts, and this is one of the parts God's Call Within is its name.
It's the last of the words on your extra sheet.
God's Call Within. It's in the
Is it also in the book?
Okay, good. So we've got it.
Oh, it's on page 7. Look at that. That is where it is, not in your extra page. Sorry. So feel free to sing along. Listen, sorry. Listen, whispering within your soul, hints of laughter, hints of joy, sweet songs of sadness, of quenchless yearning for the light, for my love, your true. Long your heart has played the dancer, long you've toyed with mirror shadows of the treasures left behind you, deep in your soul. Long you've plumbed the dark for answers, long you've begged from beggars' empty hands, gifts of life they too seeking, gifts none could share. Friend, how long will you wander? Friend, as long as you seek your home in a land where all are strangers, love locks her door. Leave to the weak his grave, and life to the coward leave his dreaming. Oh, my side, wake up, reclaim the light, seek the truth behind all seeming. Leave to the weak his grave, and life to the coward leave his dreaming. Oh, my side, wake up, reclaim the light, seek the truth behind all seeming. Turn, turn, turn within, in silence of soul, in cave of love, find my abode. Listen, listen, whispering within your soul, hints of laughter, hints of joy, sweet songs of sadness, of quenchless yearning for the light, for my love, your true. Let's meditate for a few minutes. Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, O Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, O Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, O Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Shri Ram, O Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, O Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, O Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, O Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, O Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Let's bring the lights down for our last chant before our long hour of meditation.